In this video, we're going to look at a review for the final quiz for Math 104B. You're not going to see the exact same problems with the exact same numbers, but this video will give you an idea of the types of problems you can expect to see on the final quiz. Order of operations is something that we're going to take a look at, and it's simplify the following expression using the correct order of operations. And remember that order of operations is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and that means that we are going to start by doing anything that needs done inside parentheses. Then we're going to simplify exponents. Then we're going to multiply and divide from left to right. We're going to add and subtract from left to right. So let's take a look at what we have here. In this one, we do have work to do inside parentheses. So we're going to do that first. We're going to do that subtraction, and that'll give us 18.7 minus 12 minus 7 will just be 5 squared plus 14. Took care of everything that needed done inside parentheses. Now we have exponents. We have an exponent to do. We have 5 raised to the second power, so we'll simplify that, and we'll have 18.7 minus 5 squared. 5 times 5, that's 25, plus 14. We took care of parentheses. We took care of exponents. Now we're at a place where the only things we have left are subtraction and addition. Now, addition and subtraction are equals in the hierarchy of order of operations. So we're just going to do those from left to right. And doing those from left to right, the first thing we're going to have to do is that subtraction. So what we'll do is we'll move ourselves over here, and we'll have 18.7 minus 25, which will give us negative 6.3. And we still need to add that 14. We add that 14 on there. We end up with 7.7, and we have simplified that expression. Up next, we have a problem-solving question. Sam bought 3 small ice cream cones for his kids and 1 large one for himself. His large cone cost $7, and the total price was $19. How much did each small cone cost? There are 2 different ways you could go about this. One way is kind of reasoning it out. This may be what most of you do. I'm not really sure, but if we know the total price was $19, and we know that his large cone cost $7, we could subtract that. We could subtract that $7 for the large cone, and we can see that the small cones altogether cost $12. And that's just 19 minus 7, just subtracting off the cost of his cone. And then since we were told in this problem that he bought 3 small ice cream cones, and all together they cost $12, we could just take that 12, divide it by 3, and see that the small cones cost $4 each. Perfectly reasonable way to go about solving that problem. You might like algebra. You might want to do this with algebra. And you could say, well, let's call the small ice cream cones S and his large ice cream cone L. He bought 3 small ice cream cones, so we'd 3 times the price of a small cone, plus 1 large ice cream cone, and the total was $19. Now, we were told that the large cone cost 7, so we could put that in there. So 3 small cones plus the 1 large cone cost $7, cost a total of $19. So we have this equation right here that we're going to solve using algebra. We just need to find out what S is. The way we're going to do that is we want to know what S is. So we need to get the term that has S in it by itself. So as we look at the left-hand side of the equation, we want to peel that from the outside in. So the first thing we're going to get rid of is that positive 7. So we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. These will cancel. And then 3S is 19 minus 7 is 12. Now we have 3 multiplied by S. Since we're multiplying by S and we want multiplication to go away, we're going to divide both sides by 3. These 3's cancel each other out, leaving S. 12 divided by 3 gives us 4. Either way, we find out that the small cone costs $4. You could either do it by just sort of reasoning it out, or if you like algebra, you could solve this one using algebra. Up next, find the perimeter of a rectangle with a length of 7.2 feet and a width of 5.4 feet. So we've been given this rectangle. and the length is 7.2, and the width is 5.4. You could use a formula for the perimeter, but I tend to just think of myself as standing in this corner and just walking all the way around the rectangle. How far would I go? Well, I would go 7.2, and then I'd go 5.4, and then I'd go another 7.2, and then I'd go another 5.4 to get back where I started. So the perimeter is what I get when I just add these together. 7.2 plus 5.4 plus another 7.2 plus another 5.4. And when I add all those together, I end up with a perimeter of 25.2 feet. Simple interest is something we worked on during the semester, and find the amount of interest earned if $2,000 is invested at 5% simple interest for 8 years. Once you see simple interest, you know the formula you're going to use for this is I equals PRT. Interest equals principal times rate times time. Using that formula, we're going to go ahead and plug in. The question says, find the amount of interest. So we're looking for I here. So we're not going to know what I is. The principal, that's how much is invested. That's $2,000. The interest rate is 5%. Make sure to write that as a decimal, 0.05. And then the time is 8 years. So we just plugged in for principal, rate, and time. And now when we simplify that, we'll know how much interest was earned. We just need to multiply those together. 2,000 times 0.05 times 8. Multiplying those together, we can see that the amount of interest that was earned was $800. Basic probability is something that's covered in the class. A bag contains 5 red, 8 yellow, 4 green, and 2 black jelly beans. 1 jelly bean is selected at random. What's the probability that the jelly bean is yellow? Key thing to remember here is that probability is always equal to successes divided by outcomes. We're told here to state our answer as a decimal rounded to the nearest hundredth, but the first thing we're going to do is write it as a fraction, successes over outcomes, then we'll convert that fraction to a decimal. So let's see here. What we were asked for is the probability of getting yellow. And probability is successes over outcomes. So we need to know the total number of outcomes, all the things that could possibly happen. So that's the total number of jelly beans, 5 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2. Adding all those together, we have 19 total jelly beans. And so that's our outcomes. There's going to be 19 outcomes. What's the probability the jelly bean is yellow? Well, that's how many yellow ones are in there. There's 8. So as a fraction, our probability is 8 over 19. If we were writing our answer as a fraction, we'd be done right here. But we were told to state our answer as a decimal rounded to the nearest hundredth. So we have a little bit more work to do. To get there, this 8 over 19 really is just 8 divided by 19. So we'll go ahead and divide that. 8 divided by 19. And what we get is 0.4210, and that decimal keeps going. We were told to round this to the nearest hundredth. So we'll find the hundreds place. 2 places past the decimal is the hundredths place. We'll look 1 space to the right. Since the number there is 4 or lower, we're going to round this down to 0.42. And that's going to be our answer written as a decimal. If the number in this position had been 5 or larger, we would have rounded up to 0.43. But in this case, it wasn't. It was a 1. It was 4 or lower, so we rounded down to 0.42. Finding the mean. Find the mean of the following data set. And finding the mean is just add them all up and divide by how many there are. Something you would commonly known as the average. But when we talk about statistics, we don't use the word average anymore for this. We use the word mean. We're going to add them up and divide by how many there are. So if we want the mean of this, we're going to have to do 8 plus 31 plus 15 plus 23 plus 28 plus 11 divided by however many data points there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll divide by 6. So we'll add all those together. 8 plus 31 plus 15 plus 23 plus 28 plus 11. That's 116. And we'll divide by however many data points there are. There are 6. When we divide that, we get 19.3333, and that keeps going. In this problem, we were told to round to the nearest tenth. The tenths place is the one immediately after the decimal. We'll look one space to the right. Since that's 4 or lower, we'll round this down to 19.3.